Let's talk about the kid down at Taft.
Basketball Hustle TV.
Frank Williams. Here's a guy who averaged 14 a game, about 14 a game. I think he averaged even maybe 5-6 rebounds a game. What are your thoughts on him?
Just a hard-nosed player. He's going to never takes a play off. One of those type of players is going to dive on the floor, utilize his athleticism, try to intimidate you on the defensive end, and real aggressive offensively. I think with Frank, he just got to keep developing, just like everyone else. Develop your outside game. The better your outside game, the better your driving game will be also.
There's a kid that I want you to talk about, Coach Parker, and very interesting kid.
Basketball Hustle TV.
Omari Peak, Coach Hill's boy. Tell us your thoughts on Omari.
Omari, I mean, absolute stud. Really got a chance to see him, play during this July circuit. Just to see the growth from him, his freshman season over to now, a sophomore season. And, one thing that I was impressed with him, that it looks like the jump shot is really starting to take off for the kid. And, that's a testament to him, his coaches, and, in the winter and in the summer as well. But, physically, he's so imposing, and, a guy that can play four different positions.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't find a lot of those guys. And one thing that I've started to see out of him is, I think the kid's mean. He can get mean. He can get nasty, and that's exciting to see out of somebody that young. So, Amari, a bright future out of that kid.
One of the things that I like about Amari personally is I like guards that are kind of long, and when he gets that wingspan out, you hear that last name Peak, and if you're familiar with Cincinnati basketball, you start thinking about Antoine and Mike. And he takes a lot after his dad. Antoine, when he would stick those arms out, I mean, you ain't going nowhere, And Amari you're kind of starting to see that as he develops a little bit. He's getting that length out there, and he's starting to realize that, I'm a little bit long. I could use this to my advantage. Coach, you get to coach him up every day. What are your thoughts on him?
Love him to death. He's Amari, when he first came last year, and he started every game for us as a freshman. 6'5" kid that can, like Coach Parker said, he can play the 1 through the 4. He can guard a 5-man. He handles the ball really well. What he's tried to do is become more aggressive. So that's what he worked on this summer. The college coaches love him. They love his potential. He's gotten a lot more athletic, so he'll go to the hole and bang on you now, or he can pull up in his mid-range. That was probably one of the best parts of his game. He has that old man game where he'll drive, pull up, and hit that mid-range jumper, which you don't see a lot of. But he gets it off because he's 6'5", and he's in a weight room. Never miss a weight session, and his body is just developing day by day.
Absolutely. He's really going to be a fun kid to watch over these next couple years. Can't wait to see how his recruitment and things pick up, especially in your program. More goes to Middletown, and Sales has to go up against Big
Basketball Hustle TV.
EJ at Middletown. You talk about a kid that's still developing his body. Big kids, 6'10", maybe around 265, solid. Needs to work on some condition, at least in my opinion, building up his body. But, to see where that kid was in 6th grade, right, to where he got to his, 9th grade year, you're like, oh my goodness. Right. You can see it. So that's going to be a hard ticket. Coach, what do you think about EJ? You tell me. What do you think?
What's there to real when you got a 6'10" kid, and as freshman now moving into his sophomore year, and he's starting to get his body in great physical basketball conditioning. He's got a good coach out there at Middletown as well, and he's only going to continue to get better and more imposing. And I know, with OBC out there in the summer session, he had a great year, and I'd like to see him really refine some of his skills with his back to the basket, but it'll come as he starts to mature in age, and it is going to be a tough ticket with him and Sales in that game.
I think one of the things that we are going to see out of EJ is the city's going to end up being flooded with coaches coming to see this kid. This kid, you're talking about somebody whose upside is just like unreal right now, and I think EJ fits that mold a lot, especially if he gets himself in position where, he's at maybe 265 now, coach, and he drops down to, let's say he gets to, just by the time he leaves Middletown, he's at somewhere between 245 and 250, 255. Sky's the limit for that kid.
Right.
Sky's the limit.
EJ is with him and Jaden, they're almost in a half-court game, although they're both real big and they look like they're real physical, but both of them are really not as physical as they need to be. So when they go against each other, it will be interesting to see if Jaden can utilize his athleticism running the floor, beating EJ down the court. And then it's going to be interesting to see if EJ can use his mind a little more when he get the ball, pump fake Jaden into foul trouble. So that game would definitely be interesting. But both of them, although real big, both of them are really big, but they both have a lot of work to do to get to the next level.
Keeping along and keeping in line with the GCL thing, there's a kid who I think is going to have a great year, absolutely great year, and I'm not even going to talk about it. I just want to hear what you guys have to say about it, and that's
Basketball Hustle TV.
Jordan Gaines out of Purcell.
Have some background, not only playing against them, but used to be at Clark Montessori, and you talk about a kid who's 6'3", maybe 6'4" by now. Very, very long, very, very disruptive. The best part about Jordan is that, he doesn't do any type of talking. The kid goes out there and play. He goes out there, and dominates for his team. And, the havoc that he caused defensively and able to be a one-man fast break and, go from rebounding a basketball to blocking a shot to at the other end, throwing down a dunk. I absolutely think he is, just a gem for Coach Kerr out there in Purcell, and I expect him to lead his team, very far in his senior season this year.
Coach, care to chime in on that?
Absolutely. With Jordan, what impressed me about him last year, he went over to Purcell from Clark, and Purcell already had a very talented team, and Jordan came right in, fit in, and then led them. So that tells you a lot about the kid. If you can come in on a talented team and then become the leader of that team, that means that you're special.
Now, there's a kid on our list that I want to talk about who's a very interesting kid.
Basketball Hustle TV. 16.
Ryan Bate out of Oak Hills. Interesting kid, about 6'4" and a half, strong, can drive the basket, rebounds fairly well for a guy his size. What do you guys think about him?
Ryan's an interesting player because, great body type, and he has really started to evolve in his game. His jumper is getting a lot better. His handle is getting a lot better. He's always been strong and physical, and with the style that they play out there at Oak Hills and in the GMC, he definitely needs that. But I really expect Ryan to take the next step for his junior season, and we'll see. He's got that great hybrid in him where he could play anywhere from the 2 to the 4. So I really like Ryan and his game and where it's headed, and expect a big junior season from him.
I agree. Ryan, he's a kid that has worked on his game. You can tell he's been in the gym training a lot. He's a player that can do everything. So he handles it well, he rebounds, he plays good D. So his game is definitely evolved a lot also. And I expect him to have a great year also.